What are trust funds? Trust funds go back to the Crusades. When European knights went to go on their crusades, which were nothing more than imperial land grabs for Rome, they needed somebody to hold their property in trust, basically saying, look after this until I come back. It was the church that owned and controlled the land and the law. The concept of a trust was designed to protect power and privilege while these men went off to kill in the name of God. The Catholic Church has never been anything other than a legal and economic machine, a Hoover. Priests were able to hold wealth on behalf of the church. This is similar to how a trustee operates today. I will revisit the Crusades. But trusts are a legal framework. They were invented to protect power and property. It's like a little treasure box. You put your assets that you own in this treasure box, and the trustee manages it for you while you're away. You are the settler. You put the stuff in the box, it originally belongs to you. And you give it to the trustee while you go fight religious wars. You also explain, if I die, what happens to the box? You give it to my daughter, the beneficiary, or my son. But you can agree terms with the trustee, such as she's not to get it until she's 21, or they're only allowed to take out $1 million a year, or it has to pay for so-and-so's care. Now you're into like succession territory. So this is how it's organized today. Inheritors of large estates get that inheritance through these trusts. So multiple people might be pulling down from a trust without it actually having to be declared as taxable inheritance. Settler, my assets, gives to trustee to give to beneficiaries. Life is messy. It protected families from people dying unexpectedly, or families fighting, or kids not being ready to inherit £9.5 billion. Are you ever mentally ready to inherit £9.5 billion? But they also help the rich avoid taxes. The trust will protect the settlers' wishes long after they're dead. Today, the kind of things that would sit inside a trust would be a collection of things like cash, mutual funds, real estate portfolios, bonds and stocks, little bits of companies and governments and apartments in London and things that you've stolen and cash settlements. There are many advantages to this. They reduce what you have to pay in tax. Avoid probate just means avoiding the usually long legal process after someone dies of doing court checks on their assets. If it's in trust, this doesn't need to be happened. Like if dad dies, you can still tomorrow immediately access all the money in the trust without needing to do these annoying legal formalities. This is important. This is my issue with them. You're allowed to have them and hold them anonymously, which enables criminality. It should not be a thing. There's no need to have anonymous trusts. It helps control freaks control from beyond the grave how their money is actually then used by the family. So they may well want to do good things, theoretically, with their billions that they've inherited. But there may be somebody blocking them from beyond the grave. Mr. Scrooge. Protection from creditors and restricts the beneficiary's access. This is probably one of the more sound reasons to have a trust. Families do fight, and it is awful if somebody leaves you some money. This happens with middle class and working class families who don't understand what trusts are. So Granddad didn't set up a trust for us. He just saved hard every day, and then when he gave the money to his descendants, it's taxed heavily and they can do what they want with it, which is, it causes issues in families. Being able to do that with your assets makes sense. Being able to do that with your assets does not. Ways that it might be considered useful if it was understood as a legal framework would be, say you had a single parent who owns the house and they suddenly die. If that parent had to set up a trust and put the house into it, their kids would be completely protected. They would not have to pay inheritance tax, and they would be able to dictate what happens to the house. Like, it can't be sold until all of the kids are dead or something. It's like only the last remaining child can sell the asset or something like that. Like, as an example. Or if your granddad saved all this money and had put it in a trust, he could then make it so that it had to be staggered out to you, so that you're not just getting a big lump of money, or that you might get annulments or payments every year from the trust. If a person is disabled and they are entitled to benefits, and they should be entitled to benefits, but they own property, the state in the UK and in Ireland, which is where I speak for, can demand the sale of your assets to pay for your care. But if you put it in a trust, then you can claim benefits and still have money that you don't need to declare. There are 4 types of trust. A living trust you use while you're alive. A testamentary trust only kicks in after you die. A discretionary trust is when you give power to the trustee, the middle guy, on how and when that money is used. So granddad says only $1 million a year to you. So you can have trusts funding entire families, billions or trillions sitting in unnamed offshore trusts with instructions from some king who died 150 years ago that my descendants are to get a percentage for the rest of their life, type thing. And all of this is delivered tax-free. This is how you can inherit £9 billion. Rich people love trusts. It's through trusts that they avoid tax, hide the real ownership of stolen property, protect their wealth from any lawsuits. So even if you are bankrupt by a court in Britain, if you had your money put in the trust first, they can't touch that. So these inept captains of industry can then use bankruptcy as a way to reset the monopoly board without actually attacking their wealth. This is how money moves quietly through the generations. Trusts are a power firewall for the wealthy. Regular people should care about this because you could also use it. If you want to protect your children, set up an inheritance trust. If you want to support somebody vulnerable, set up a trust. If you want to make sure that your assets stay with you no matter what legal battles or court cases you face. They were invented for crusaders. They were used by kings and banks and billionaires. They make it try and seem to you like it's very dense and complicated. But it isn't. It's you putting yourself in a treasure box and giving it to somebody you trust to hide it for you, so that you can ensure what you really wanted that money to go towards is protected. Question: why is it only this way for wealthy people? Why is it only commoners who pay inheritance tax? And why is there over £6 billion of British property sitting in anonymous trusts?